Behind the albums and the sold-out tours, rock has always carried tension. Clashing egos, broken friendships, public meltdowns. These are 10 rock feuds that shook the industry, made headlines, and changed music forever. Number 1. Dave Mustaine versus Metallica. Before the feud became legend, Dave Mustaine was Metallica's lead guitarist, fast, aggressive, and unpredictable. But in 1983, just days before their first recording sessions, the band fired him. No warning, no second chances. A one-way bus ticket back to Los Angeles was all he got. The tension had been building for months. Mustaine's drinking, violent outbursts, and clashes with Lars Ulrich and James Hetfield made the sessions unbearable. But the final straw came when his dog scratched up Metallica bassist Ron McGovney's car. Hetfield allegedly kicked the dog, and Mustaine punched him in the face. Metallica replaced him with Kirk Hammett and went on to become the biggest metal band in the world. But Mustaine never let it go. Fueled by rage and rejection, he formed Megadeth. And set out to destroy his former band with speed, precision, and venom. For decades, the feud played out in interviews, song lyrics, and tense backstage encounters. Mustaine blamed Metallica for stealing his riffs. Hetfield shrugged it off. Fans took sides. Even when they briefly reconnected in the Some Kind of Monster documentary, the bitterness was still raw. To this day, Mustaine still speaks about the firing with a mix of pain and pride. And while both bands carved out their place in metal history, the fallout from that one bus ride still echoes through everything they built. Number 2. Axl Rose versus Vince Neil.
You can have everything you want, but you better not take it from me. It's yours.
It started with a punch in 1989, the MTV Video Music Awards.
Okay, and the winner is... All right, Guns N' Roses!
Mötley Crüe had just handed Guns N' Roses an award when Vince Neil suddenly stepped off stage and decked Izzy Stradlin in the face. According to Neil, Stradlin had assaulted his wife weeks earlier at a club in LA. Now, Vince was settling the score, and he claimed he broke Izzy's nose right then and there. Axl Rose didn't take it lightly. Within days, the media exploded with threats, interviews, and open challenges. Axl called out Vince in the press. Name the time, name the place.
I put in a magazine, anytime he wants it, anywhere. Atlantic City, I don't care.
Vince hit back on MTV, daring Axl to meet him in the ring. He even offered to televise the fight.
To do it at an arena, I'd like to have it televised.
For months, fans expected a full-blown showdown, but it never happened. Instead, the feud dragged on through magazine covers, late-night interviews, and years of bitterness. Axl accused Vince of being a liar. Vince called Axl soft. The two frontmen, both symbols of 80s excess and ego, never shared a stage again. It wasn't just a personal beef, it was a clash between two of the biggest bands of the decade, playing out under the spotlight for everyone to see. And even though no punches flew after that night, the damage was done. Number 3. Sebastian Bach versus John Bon Jovi. At first, it looked like a rock and roll brotherhood. In 1987, John Bon Jovi's parents helped discover a 19-year-old Sebastian Bach at a wedding, and not long after, he became the frontman of Skid Row. By 1989, Skid Row was opening for Bon Jovi on a major arena tour. But things didn't stay friendly for long. It started with t-shirts. Skid Row's merch was outselling Bon Jovi's, and the headliners weren't happy. Then came the hazing. At a stop in Kentucky, with the lights out backstage, Bach was grabbed by several of Bon Jovi's crew, dragged under the stage, and dunked into a vat of freezing cold milk. He stumbled to the mic, drenched and shaken, just in time to sing the first verse. Later that night, things escalated. Backstage, John Bon Jovi confronted Bach, furious about something he allegedly said on stage. He lunged, but Bach dodged the punch. Within seconds, Bon Jovi's brother and father jumped in, and Bach was thrown against a concrete wall. According to Bach, Bon Jovi Sr. screamed in his face, threatening to kill him. Number 4. Liam Gallagher versus Noel Gallagher. Oasis became one of the biggest bands in the world. But behind the music was a rivalry that never stopped. Liam and Noel Gallagher, brothers and bandmates, spent nearly 2 decades clashing on stage, off stage, and everywhere in between. Liam was brash and unpredictable. Noel, sharp and unforgiving. Their arguments turned into chaos, shouting matches during rehearsals, studio walkouts, and physical fights just minutes before showtime. At one press event, Liam threw a plum at Noel's head. During recording sessions, he'd show up drunk, bring hecklers to the booth, or insult the very songs they were tracking. And yet, the music broke records. Albums like Definitely Maybe and What's the Story, Morning Glory defined a generation. But the tension kept building, and in 2009, it finally snapped. Just before a show in Paris, a backstage fight ended with destroyed guitars and Noel quitting the band on the spot. He hasn't returned since. The feud didn't end with Oasis. Over the years, the brothers have continued exchanging insults in interviews and online, with fans watching, hoping for a reunion that never comes. Their story remains one of rock's most iconic divides. 2 brothers, 2 visions, and a band caught in the middle. Number 5. Roger Waters versus David Gilmour. Pink Floyd made music that felt untouchable, epic, emotional, and larger than life. But behind the sound was a creative power struggle that never fully healed. Roger Waters and David Gilmour were both visionaries, but their visions didn't always align. As Pink Floyd evolved, Waters pushed for darker, concept-driven albums like The Wall and The Final Cut, projects that gave him more control and gradually pushed Gilmour into the background. By 1985, Waters had enough. He left the band and assumed it would dissolve with him. But Gilmour had other plans and carried on under the Pink Floyd name. That decision sparked years of lawsuits, bitter interviews, and public resentment. Waters accused Gilmour of riding on his legacy. Gilmour fired back, saying Pink Floyd was never a one-man show. Even decades later, the tension remains. Waters has described Gilmour as controlling and arrogant. Gilmour has blocked Waters from using official Pink Floyd platforms. Their rare reunions, like Live Aid in 2005, were brief, tense, and never led to anything lasting. It's one of rock's longest-running feuds, and for fans, it's a reminder that even brilliance can come with a breaking point. Number 6. Courtney Love versus Dave Grohl. They were both tied to Nirvana, but never on the same side. After Kurt Cobain's death in 1994, Courtney Love and Dave Grohl found themselves orbiting the same legacy. What followed was one of the messiest, most drawn-out feuds in modern rock. It started with control. Love, as Cobain's widow and the mother of his child, took charge of his estate. Grohl, along with Chris Novoselic, kept Nirvana's musical legacy alive, but their attempts to release unreleased tracks or box sets often ran into legal resistance from Love. Then came the interviews. Courtney accused Grohl of being a money-grabbing drummer, blamed him for manipulating Nirvana's image, and even claimed he hit on her daughter, Frances Bean Cobain, a statement both Grohl and Frances publicly denied. Grohl mostly stayed silent, but when he did respond, it was sharp and measured, calling Love's comments offensive and absolutely untrue. The feud lasted for years, spanning courtrooms, magazine covers, and awkward award show moments. And yet, in 2014, something unexpected happened. At Nirvana's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, Grohl, Love, and Novoselic stood together on stage, smiling, hugging, and thanking each other. It didn't erase the past, but it gave fans a brief glimpse of peace. Still, the tension between them has never fully disappeared, and for many, the feud remains a fractured piece of Nirvana's legacy. Number 7. Axl Rose versus Kurt Cobain. In the early 90s, rock was shifting, hair metal was fading, and grunge was taking over. At the center of that shift stood two frontmen, and they couldn't have been more different. Axl Rose was the face of Guns N' Roses, loud, theatrical, and unapologetically chaotic. Kurt Cobain, leading Nirvana, represented something raw, stripped down, and deliberately anti-glam. The tension between them exploded at the 1992 MTV Video Music Awards. Backstage, Axl confronted Kurt and Courtney Love, furious over a joke Courtney had made about him being their baby's godfather. Witnesses say Axl pointed at Kurt and told him to keep his woman in line. Kurt responded the only way he knew how, by mocking the moment on stage just minutes later. From that point on, the two bands couldn't stand each other. Axl continued to slam Nirvana in interviews. Cobain fired back, calling Guns N' Roses a joke and criticizing their lyrics and lifestyle. Even their fan bases clashed, one rooted in rebellion, the other in rejection. Their feud never reached physical violence, but the cultural divide it represented was massive. Number 8. Tommy Lee versus Kid Rock. Some feuds are about music. This one was about pride, ego, and Pamela Anderson. Tommy Lee and Kid Rock had both been married to the Baywatch star, and while neither relationship lasted, the tension between the two men kept building long after the divorces. By the time the 2007 MTV Video Music Awards rolled around, things were already boiling. Kid Rock spotted Tommy Lee sitting nearby and, without warning, threw a punch from behind. Security rushed in, the fight was broken up, and both were escorted out of the building. Kid Rock later claimed he won, while eyewitnesses said Lee got it pretty bad.
Very, very honestly and very clearly, I said, I won.
What actually happened is still debated, but the grudge was far from over. After the fight, Kid Rock publicly denied that the brawl had anything to do with Anderson, insisting it was Lee's long history of disrespect that pushed him over the edge. He described years of antagonizing emails and petty digs, including a series of messages Lee allegedly sent during Rock's divorce. The fight made headlines and even drew offers, including a $1 million payday to settle things in a celebrity boxing ring. Both declined. It never turned into a full-scale rivalry on record or on stage, but for a moment, two eras of bad boy rock collided, and the result was pure chaos. Number 9, Eddie Van Halen versus Fred Durst. It started with a jam session. It ended with a gun. In the early 2000s, a record label executive introduced Eddie Van Halen to Fred Durst, hoping to spark a collaboration. The idea was bold, one of rock's greatest guitarists teaming up with the frontman of Limp Bizkit, a band Eddie reportedly had no respect for.
I know why you wanna hate me. I know why you wanna hate me. 'Cause hate.
Still, they agreed to meet. The session, held at Durst's house, fell apart quickly. People were partying, smoking, and ignoring the music. Eddie walked out, leaving behind his gear. For 24 hours, Durst didn't return his calls, so Eddie took matters into his own hands. According to photographer Andrew Bennett, Eddie pulled up to Durst's house in a military vehicle wearing camouflage. He allegedly stormed to the door with a gun in hand, pressed it to Durst's head, and demanded his equipment back. Durst, stunned, ordered his team to load everything into Eddie's car, while the guitarist stood by, armed and silent. No charges were filed. No collaboration ever happened. But the story spread quickly, especially among those who knew how seriously Eddie took his music and how little patience he had for games. Number 10. Varg Vikernes versus Euronymous. In the early 90s, Norway's black metal scene was unlike anything else in music. Raw, extreme, and surrounded by real violence. At the heart of it were two men, Mustaine, Euronymous, Arseth of the band Mayhem, and Varg Vikernes, the man behind Burzum. What began as a friendship built on shared ideals quickly unraveled. There were rumors of betrayal, power struggles, and disturbing plans involving torture, weapons, and videotaped murder. At the center of it all was money. Varg claimed Euronymous owed him royalties, and their personal tension kept escalating. On August 10, 1993, Varg traveled to Euronymous' apartment in Oslo. Only one of them walked out alive. According to police reports, Euronymous was found with 23 stab wounds to the head, neck, and back. Varg claimed it was self-defense. The court didn't agree. He was arrested days later, and police uncovered a stockpile of explosives and ammunition in his home. Varg was sentenced to 21 years in prison, the maximum sentence in Norway, not just for murder, but also for his role in a series of church burnings that shocked the world.